You don't need to be patient when things are working out well. Nothing is being asked of you in those moments. The virtue comes when things are difficult.
In those difficult times, remind yourself of what the original intent is.
The more we are patient, the easier it becomes to be prudent. The more we're prudent, the easier it becomes to be patient.
The goals really represent the underlying why. In the absence of the underlying why, then we're just kind of at the whims of circumstance.
Welcome to the Your Life Podcast, where we talk about how to integrate the virtues into our life and our finances. My name is Anthony De Lazzari, Associate Investment Advisor.
Sean Gregory, Portfolio Manager.
AJ Sanson, Associate Investment Advisor.
We are with Serving Capital at I Private Wealth, and our goal is to serve you so that your finances may serve your goals and your goals may serve the good.
How's your weekend?
It was good. It was good. I went up to Whistler. Saw my friend finish up the Grand Fondo.
The Grand Fondo. The Grand Fondo. I'm not familiar with the term. Please educate me.
It's a bike race from Stanley Park up to Whistler, so 122K.
Okay. Road bikes.
Yeah. Well, one gal's on unicycle.
Where did he finish?
Did he juggle at the same time?
No. That would have been impressive, but he took his time.
Yeah. I do have one James story from recent past. And I think it ties in well with the virtue we're going to talk about today of patience, because it was very trying on my patience. And I did not display the virtues well at all during this trial.
But you've created an opportunity for you to learn, practice it.
An opportunity for regret over my... Okay, so here's what happened. Okay, so James has disappeared, and that's an immediate red flag when he's quiet and not around. And then what happens? Oh, I hear the car alarm go off. Why would the car alarm ever be going off in the garage? Well, what happened was James found the car keys. He took them to the 4Runner. He let himself into the 4Runner. While he was in there, he then locked himself in, engaging the car alarm. He put the keys down, opened the door, sets off the car alarm. Then he gets out, closes the door, it's locked with the keys inside and the car alarm going off.
Did you have a second set of keys? Oh, no, wait. In coming with you, there wasn't a second set of keys.
Not a second set of keys. There is only one key. And yes, this was an opportunity to grow in patience and gentleness. And I completely failed in that opportunity. I absolutely displayed zero of the virtues.
Consolation, I probably would have responded in the same way.
Yeah, so I run to the garage to see what's going on, and I see James coming out, and I try the door handle, and it's locked. And I'm panicking, because I understand I only have one set of keys. And also the car alarm's going off, so it's very loud and irritating. And I'm trying to talk to James, which means I have to scream at James just to get over the volume of the truck. But I probably would have been screaming at him anyway, even if the alarm was not going off, as is the case when you are being impatient. Okay, no, here's the remarkable thing. So there is a feature on the 4Runner that if the key is near the door handle and you touch the door handle, it will unlock.
Oh.
But the key has to be really close. Like it has to be in your pocket and you have to be next to it.
It can't be like on the center console and still unlock?
The key was actually in the center console. And I go touch the door handle and I pull, nothing. And I go to James and I'm like, do you realize what you've done? Okay, anyway. And I go back. Why would I go back a second time? Right? Just desperate. And I go back a second time and it unlocks. And I get the keys.
Nice.
But for it to not work the first time, then to work the second time, right? What explanation do I have for that? That was my dramatic moment of recent past.
Nice.
AJ, what about you?
Oh. It was a busy weekend. My brother-in-law got married, so that was a pretty big occasion. Happy for my wife's side of the family, and I guess our new in-laws. Yeah, new in-laws.
Yeah.
So just got a chance to appreciate time with family that's come from distant parts of Canada and the States, I guess, as well. But more importantly, my daughter began her endeavor into more competitive basketball.
Nice.
Had an opportunity to try out for, I guess, provincial level basketball at its earliest age of grade 6.
Yeah.
That eventually leads to provincial representation for, I think, the BC Summer Games.
Wow.
At some point. So, but there's some like tremendous talent out there.
Yeah.
And also got appreciation of the interesting culture that comes about in terms of intense competitive sports at a very young age. So I appreciate the dedication and discipline to excellence. And these parents are doing their best to live it out.
There you go.
Nice.
But we should go back to patience.
Patience.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Here,
Sean, you
I
had an
will,
intro for us?
Yeah. I have some quotes from the king of philosophers, Thomas Aquinas. And then I have some quotes from the financial philosophers, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, on the topic. Okay, so I'll start with Thomas Aquinas. So the virtues in general, they safeguard the good of reason against the impulse of the passions. And as it pertains specifically to patience, among those passions, sorrow is strong to hinder the good of reason. And he's quoting something else. The sorrow of the world worketh death, sadness. Sorry, there's no th on that one. Sadness hath killed many, and there is no profit in it. Hence the necessity for a virtue to safeguard the good of reason against sorrow. And he's quoting Augustine, and Augustine says, "A man's patience, it is whereby he bears evil with an equal mind, without being disturbed by sorrow, lest he abandon with an unequal mind the goods whereby he may advance to better things. And that, therefore, it is evident that patience is a virtue, inasmuch as it helps us overcome our sorrow in our long waiting." Okay, that's Thomas. Now, bringing it back to our field of finance, Warren Buffett says of patience that financial markets are a mechanism to transfer wealth from the impatient to the patient. And Charlie Munger says, a very pithy line, as is usual of him, "The money is in the waiting." So I'll put that out to the table and you guys can take it from there.
Well, yeah, I guess how does sorrow come up when it comes to our financial lives? Is that from not having enough, or is that a lack of fortitude?
You don't need to be patient when things are working out well.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing is being asked of you in those moments.
Right.
That's easy, right? The virtue comes when things are difficult. And when you are faced with events that lead you to sadness or sorrow or whatever it is, something to knock you off the path. And this is where patience is a subset of fortitude, right? It's that adversity. And so in a financial plan, it could be when you're not on track.
Yeah.
You're falling behind. You're not keeping up with your savings goals. Your return is below your target. Whatever it is, there are things that come up along the way that will cause you to doubt yourself. It will cause you to second guess. It will cause you, right, things that stir up the passion that may lead you to abandon the plan if you did not exercise due patience.
I think you're right, John, because in an ideal sense, you want the ideal outcome to happen as fast as possible and nothing that deviated from that ideal. But patience really takes place is when it doesn't happen in the quickest fashion possible. And a good reminder is when you set these goals, to timeline what's reasonable, as opposed to like, I just need it now. I just need it now. And essentially is just to know that in those difficult times, remind yourself of what the original intent is.
Yeah. And I think there's a nuance too. There's a nuance between this is going to take a long time to reach this goal.
Right.
And there's just the time component, which I think is kind of it doesn't give patience enough credit for the meatiness behind the virtue that there is. It's because it's not just that this will take a long duration. It's that there are things along the way that will cause you to doubt it, that will not work out well, that will push you off this path. And you need to recognize that ahead of time. And you need to be prepared mentally to endure this difficulty.
Because if you don't, then this element of sorrow will just kick in which you just abandon everything. I liken to the I guess in the common movie theme where there's the table full of papers and then just forget it, throw it all up in the air and just give up on everything.
Yeah. So to that point, one thing I will see with clients or people out in the world is, you do everything right. You go see a financial planner, you go see a professional, you have this beautifully crafted, rational, reasonable financial plan. And then events of the world unfold as they will. There's uncertainty, there's volatility, and you begin to doubt it. And instead of enduring that difficulty, you tear it up and you go get a new one from someone else.
Right.
And, well, first of all, it's expensive, it's costly. And maybe it's not a bad second plan, but when you're jumping from plan to plan to plan to plan, you're never going to see success. You have to see one plan through to the end for it to work.
I think it's important to understand that the unexpected is going to come about. so that when those circumstances or those things that deviate from the ideal come about, you know to expect them and just know how to respond more rationally to the circumstance as opposed to just giving up altogether.
I like a quote from Thomas Aquinas where he says, "Patience is said to have perfect work in bearing hardships, for these give first rise to sorrow, which is moderated by patience." So I guess in our discussion of patience, it seems like patience is mostly concerned with fortitude, the ability to overcome hardships and sorrow. Is there virtue that we can use to reduce the amount of sorrow that we might have? Like, would that be a piece of prudence that is needed? Like, at what point do we get away from prudence and into the need for patience in bearing hardship? Because hardship, I think, comes about most of the time from us having an expectation and then experiencing dissonance because we're not fully meeting that expectation. So what virtue could we use even before patience?
Yeah, well, prudence, as you say, is the necessary precondition for patience.
Yeah.
Right. To have that plan, a plan, or you've done an analysis on a company for an investment or whatever it is, right? That you have that rational basis for whatever decision you've initially made. And it's later where the passions are stirred from something that causes you to abandon that initial prudent decision, where you have to rely on patience to remind yourself why you even were here in the first place.
Yeah.
So if you did not exercise due prudence initially, you'll have nothing to come back to. And then the passions will take over.
Will overcome. And then the rational thought can't come to the equation because it never existed on the onset of making that initial plan. I liken it too as like, when you go grocery shopping, and if you don't go in with a grocery list, a plan of action to actually go, then you end up just going through all the aisles and you suddenly collect all these things as your basket of things you suddenly have to buy. And you go way over budget and you buy the junk food that you know you shouldn't eat, but is now populated in the grocery cart because you didn't put a plan of action ahead of time.
Never happened to me before.
Never? No. It doesn't resonate with anyone?
I actually have the opposite problem.
Do you?
If I don't
Really?
go on a grocery list, I come up with like an empty cart. Or
Really?
Yeah, borderline empty. Or just not enough of the things that I should have bought, I guess I should say. Yeah. Which is kind of what you're saying.
I just end up with candy bars.
Right.
As a diabetic. Probably not the best thing.
Yeah, so that's a lack of prudence, is what you're saying.
Hence, I always go with a shopping list.
Yeah. So one interesting thing I think about patience is that if you read financial planning textbooks or investment analysis textbooks, they'll give you the blueprints on how to be prudent. You can learn the core tenets of how to do these things well, but rarely and never in my experience have I seen the emphasis on that next step, which is patience to endure this thing.
Right. But then there's also one to know in theory. And then
Yeah,
one
that's what I
in
mean. Like the
practice.
difference between theory and practice.
Right.
And that's kind of like that. That's getting back to what the Munger and the Buffett quotes is: you can know what to do, but it doesn't mean you're going to do it well.
Yeah.
Which
And-
speaks to the endurance part, is to know it, but then to endure it as well.
How important is having good goals when it comes to being able to endure patience or hardship and then practice patience?
Well, I think it's similar to prudence. It's when you have things to fall back on, it is easier to exercise patience. When you have a plan that's reasonable and rational, it's easy to come back to it. And when you can bring your goals to the forefront, you can remember why you're doing it. Not just what you're doing, but the reasons behind it.
Right. Like the goals really represent the underlying why. In the absence of the underlying why, then we're just kind of at the whims of circumstance.
Yeah.
And the passions.
Yeah. Well, yeah, speaking of that, like, pull out another Aquinas quote because can't get enough. Oh, actually, I think the start of this is actually from Augustine. He says, "The strength of desire helps a man to bear toil and pain, and no one willingly undertakes to bear what is painful, save for the sake of that which gives pleasure." Basically alluding to, well, you're not going to do something unless it's pleasureful or like nice. The reason of this is because sorrow and pain are of themselves displeasing to the soul. Wherefore, it would never choose to suffer them for their own sake, but only for the sake of an end. So hence, in order to endure any sort of displeasing thing to us, we have to have some sort of greater end or perceived greater end.
Yeah. And to that point, I will add another quote from Thomas, where he says, "The very delay of the good we hope for is a cause of sorrow," which that's the act of saving,
Yeah, interesting.
putting away for tomorrow. But denying yourself today is a cause for sorrow. which is just speaks to the human condition, I think,
Yeah.
very astutely. And to know that, look, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to save the future. It's going to be difficult, but just that very act of putting it away causes some amount of pain, right? The things you give up today.
And I think it's good too. It gives you a better appreciation of when you do accomplish that goal. It just adds more meaning to it. So in the act of saving, you're saving a little bit every single month. Let's say you have your end goal of whatever X number of dollars. I mean, there's always that allure of like, I wish I win the lottery, so all that can happen now, but it's the unlikely case. But I think of anything that we pursue that is good, like our respective careers. It's nice to have an element to work towards, knowing you're making slow progress to even more enjoy and appreciate the end product.
And what you're saying reminds me, how often do we see impatience lead to terrible financial decisions?
More often
and even,
than not.
and even ruinous financial decisions. And by that I mean, it's the desire for get rich quick.
Yeah, the YOLO culture yet again, right?
Right. So you buy way too much of some highly speculative company because you think that this is going to go up 100 times and make you super wealthy. And then what happens? Of course, you lose it all because that was the most likely course of events. But you were clouded by your passions.
Right.
You did not exercise the patience you should have in enduring the long wait of getting there eventually, and you tried to shortcut it.
And by shortcutting, you actually make it even a longer process to actually get to that end goal. Because now you're
as
delayed.
One of the hobbits, I think it was Peregrine Took, says in Fellowship of the Ring, shortcuts make for long delays.
It's true.
I'm curious because obviously saving requires patience, but some people are, as we've talked about in podcasts past, penny pinchers. Is that a lack of patience? Is that too much patience? Just saying, I want everything to be down the line, and then potentially retiring with your goals way overfunded and then being too attached to money? Does patience come in there, or is there another virtue that we need to use to overcome that deficiency?
Well, the virtue is always the golden mean.
Yeah.
So you're right. You can have too much patience.
Yeah.
I was thinking of too much patience in terms of sloth, when there are things that you actually should be doing right now, but you're not doing them.
Yeah.
Or, to go back to our initial example, you have a financial plan, you encountered some hardship along the way, but there are corrective actions that you should take. But perhaps you think you're being patient and you're just going to let time bear it out, and actually you should have done something. So there is being too patient.
Yeah. So I guess it would be prudence again to take that, because prudence is using right reason to take right action.
Right.
And so you can kind of tease yourself by saying, I'm being patient, when in reality you're being imprudent by not taking action.
Right. Or procrastinating. Like at
Yeah.
the back of your mind, you really know you should do this, but you're excusing yourself by saying, I'm just going to give it more time. I'm just going to wait. I just need to be more patient.
Like a bad investment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the hard part
humility,
in the
yeah.
investment world
Yeah.
is, when is this an investment that needs more time?
Yeah.
And when is this a sinking ship that I have to get off of
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
That's a really hard needle to thread. I think, to your original question, when is saving excessive? It's when it impedes your ability to live your life as you probably should.
Yeah.
Right? Spending well.
Yeah.
When you can't do that. When you think you're going to prepare your own vehicle to save a few $100s of the mechanic's labor that you really don't know what you're doing and you should have paid him that, and right? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
That's where you're you're bearing the difficulty of saving. It's too much. You should just spend that money. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a prudent place to spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that let's say, for example, you set a particular goal in terms of how much you need as an amount of financial resources to now transition from your current job or career to another that is the main passion project.
Yeah.
Let's say, I'll give an example, to start a business. So if they've already amassed that necessary amount that they can let go of their current career and pursue this passion business, there's an element of like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to wait. I have to practice patience of it. But there's necessity for action at that point. This was our goal. We accomplished it. Take action on it.
Yeah.
As opposed to let's just hang back and just call it patience for a later day.
So yeah, so how close is the link between patience and prudence then? Because it would seem that well, you need to be prudent to start to have these good end goals, this action plan, but patience to endure the difficulties. But then at the same time, you also, once you've reached those goals through patience, you need to have, again, that prudence, that right action to be able to take action and fulfill these things. I believe it was Jose Maria Escriva. We talked about, like, the more you love, the more you want to love, and the more you want to love, the more you indeed love. And like, the more you do something, the more you want to do something, when it's a positive thing, obviously. And so I think that the more we are patient, the easier it becomes to be prudent. The more we're prudent, the easier it becomes to be patient.
Oh, I get
Momentum.
it now. I get what you're asking now. Yeah.
Yes,
and
okay, there
that's
we go.
the answer.
yes. Okay, sweet.
All right. I think we're good on patience. That's it for me.
Yeah, same with mine.
All right. Thank you for listening. I'm Anthony.
I'm Sean.
I'm AJ.
Thank you for listening, and please consider subscribing.
This podcast has been prepared by Sean Gregory, who is a portfolio manager, AJ Sanson, and Anthony De Lazzari, who are associate investment advisors for IA Private Wealth Inc. Opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the portfolio manager and investment advisors only, and do not necessarily reflect those of IA Private Wealth Inc. IA Private Wealth Inc. is a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund and the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization. IA Private Wealth is a trademark and business name under which IA Private Wealth Inc. operates.